Hello everybody, this is Simon with Let's Play Sonic Unleashed. And today it is time to unleash the beast. We are playing our first Werehog level. However, it is preceded by a short cutscene, many of them are, to give context to why this is actually a very linear thing. We have to play the Werehog now, so meet you afterwards. Use a timestamp if you want to. And here we are! Woo! And again, to address the elephant in the room, I said this already last time, but playing as Sonic in daylight is a lot of fun. You boost and it's an extreme sense of speed and it's very obviously exhilarating, and I have a blast doing that. Most everybody does who is into the idea of Sonic at all. And then we have this guy who is mostly walking, whose levels take a lot longer. Like this one takes 15 minutes, which is 5 times as much as Act 2 in daylight. And I completely understand why this is a very, very controversial thing. However, as I also said, I don't hate the Werehog. I think it's perfectly fine, and I think you can have a lot of fun with it. There are obvious problems, some of them related to the fact that this is a slow brawler, some of them completely unrelated, as in they screwed up a few things, which I will not be silent about. But I do think that this is okay, and you can have a lot of fun with it, and I will try to make it as fun as possible. So, first of all, new mechanic. When the enemies get this exclamation mark arrow above their head, then you can activate a quick time event where you press 2 buttons, randomly selected. For most enemies it's 2 buttons, and then you can basically do this execution style move. Looks kind of cool. It always looks a little bit dangerous if you're close to a pit or something, but don't worry, you can always do that. It will never push you into a pit, which is great, the thought of that. This is obviously inspired by God of War, where also if you brought an enemy low, a pop-up would show up, which was in God of War the circle button, which is the equivalent to the B button on the Xbox, so the same button. And then you could activate that quick time event and you would have random button prompts show up and so on. And this is not the only way this game is inspired, let's say, by God of War. Many people perhaps rightfully called it a God of War clone, and it is worse than God of War. Full stop. I will agree with that. God of War is really, really good. I really like God of War, especially number 2, with number 1 having a few platforming elements that are not the best, and they are somewhat faithfully copied as well in the Werehog levels, so these are part of the problems that the Werehog for sure has. However, the Werehog levels are great to explore, because now that we are slowing down and we can take our time, there is a whole lot of nooks and crannies where you can go into, where you can use his unique mechanics like the stretchy arms, which are incorporated kind of interestingly and which are unique to Sonic the Hedgehog, the Unleashed one. Here you can, by the way, see how the game handles walls, and then later on pits. You will always return to the point of origin. But yeah, I do like a lot of the platforming elements here. They are sometimes a little bit disingenuous, let's say, and you do have the issue that sometimes the combat and the platforming can get a little bit frustratingly tedious, but we will get to that when we get to that. First of all, however, I wanted to show you how to have fun with the Werehog. Use grab attacks. They are really good. If you take one of these small enemies here, with the B button, you can just immediately grab them, and then with Y you can swing them around like I just did. With B again, you can slam them into the ground, which does an AoE on the point of impact. And with X, right? X, the left one, you can throw them, which is going to be vital later on. Something else, if the enemy is lying on the ground, not standing up, despite the arrow on top of their head, you will not get a button prompt to grab them. You will instead to grab them for the execution attack, I should say. You will instead grab them normally and then you can throw them. which is cool. You can also kill them immediately like that, and it's a valid way of dealing with enemies as well. So there is already a quite high amount of complexity in this, I would say, and it's only going to get more and more complex. You might note that I have not gotten any moves yet for the Werehog. Everything I'm using is either light attack or a heavy attack, which are on X and on Y respectively. It's great time to explain this, by the way, while I desperately try to get this medal, which is annoyingly hard to get. This always happens here. It's really weird. You have to wait for the apex of your jump and kind of use the momentum of the platform as it rises, and you see, it just works. There are a few of these jumps in the game, and yeah, they're not great. Pole climbing also not the very best. It's very clunky, but I'll get to that later on. Anyway, as I said, there is a surprising amount of complexity that you can already have your basic moveset, and it's only going to get more complex as we upgrade. I could already upgrade right now, because you can upgrade at any point as soon as you reach a level, which you get by collecting all of these yellow crystals, in case you have wondered what they do. Then you can immediately level up. I do recommend that. I'm not doing it to keep this video a little bit less complex. You can also do these dodge moves. They are straight out of Devil May Cry. By the way, this is exactly the input that you use in Devil May Cry. Hold block and then, or L1 in this case, it's focus for Devil May Cry, I think. And then press A to roll away. I don't use those much because I feel like the general positioning that you can do by just running around and then just go all out on the attack is much more important in combat. Similarly, you do activate a shield when you press L1, which is unique to this game. There is 5 shield pips that you can see over the unleash meter that is flashing right now at the bottom left, and enemy attacks take away one of these shield ones. So if you do block, then you want to increase those by leveling them up, because later enemy attacks, they take away 2 or even 3 one of the shield pips at the same time, and then you're gonna have a bad time if you run out, because then you can't block anymore. But because I don't block that much, I don't think many people do, it's not that big of an importance for me. But, you know, occasionally it's quite good, and it is part of the moveset, so I should get more used to that. Like, there's plenty of action games, like the new God of War games, which I'm not that fond of, but I did play them, where it took me like for an entire game to figure out that blocking is actually really good in those games, because I never think of blocking. I always want to just kill the enemies first, but it's extremely valid. Here I'm throwing enemies, by the way, and as you can see, this deletes health bars of the big enemies. So again, a lot of people play this game and start out and they're like, I don't know about this brawling thing, but you know, maybe it's okay. And then the game even tells you that, hey, pick up enemies, throw them, it's great. But it feels clunky, or they throw a small enemy into another small enemy, they're like, this is kind of worthless, and they don't do it again. And that's a shame, because you can really easily deal with a large group of enemies, and even with a bunch of big enemies surrounded by small enemies, very, very well with this mechanic. But it's not like the game teaches you immediately, hey, you should do this. It's really good. It doesn't force you to do it. So again, I would say this is not, I'm not blaming the players for not getting it, because again, the game should realize it's a hard sell, this system here, that you need to get people to accept that, hey, you made something good here, something actually worth playing. So you need to teach them how to play this well. It is 100% on the game. I'm just saying, for myself, I figured this out at some point. Not the first time I played this, not the first time I watched someone play it either. It took me a bit, but once I realized how strong the grabs really are, this first level is a breeze to go through with it. It's really good. So I strongly recommend, if you ever thought like, oh man, the Werehog fights, they take so long and I barely feel like I'm in control, I'm just mashing buttons, like, don't do that. It's good to do this, and you can have a lot of fun setting up situations where you gather some enemies together, grab one, then do the big AoE, press Y button after you grab one, you know. I am, by the way, always going to use Xbox buttons, because those are the ones on screen. I am playing this on a DS4, but I like the Xbox buttons more, they're more colorful. Yeah, anyway. That's my recommendation in general. And again, I'm not blaming anybody for not getting it, because it is on the game to teach this, maybe give you a little bit of a short tutorial. Also, something the game mentions is like, yeah, you can unleash, by the way. It's good. Also, by the way, it's a very, very valid mechanic to be using very often, because destroying any sort of environmental object gets you a lot of unleashed meter. And when it's full, you should not waste it. It makes Sonic extremely powerful. Like, I don't know the numbers, don't care for this game, I really don't care about the numbers, but you delete enemies when you are in unleashed form, and it is absolutely worthwhile putting a few points in there, because later fights, longer enemies, more waves. As you kill enemies, you get more unleash meter, but if you run out, of course you have to fill it up again. So making sure that it doesn't run out for too long, it's a good thing. Anyway, this is what you have to do to get this medal, I'm pretty sure, unless I missed the box somewhere. Always kind of clunky, always kind of fun, because if you put these in here, and then, oh, I guess you could carry this box, but no, I think you throw it then. This box is meant to throw at enemies, never do that. Just use other enemies. Kills two at the same time, you know, it's cool. Yeah, if you put both of those crystal things next to the door to open the door, then obviously you can't use it anymore to get the medal, it's kind of weird. Also spoilers, I'm not getting all of the medals. I'm going to miss exactly one, and I don't know where it is, because, you know, and that's also one of the reasons why I said, like, I'm going to accept first tries here, because I generally know my way around these levels, but I don't have every single one memorized. And it's 16 medals, guys, like, I should have a checklist up for that, and then I would have to redo 15 minutes of gameplay. That's why I'm not doing it immediately, but I can always get this medal later. So, again, bear with me for that, it's fine, right? However, something I can say already, I'm going to get an S rank, so that's something. Yeah, so for these doors here, I do think that they could be less annoying to open up, because it takes more than one basic combo to open them. Again, I could already have upgraded to get more than the basic combos, but yeah, you know, don't want to interrupt the flow. And again, many people don't even know that A, after the daytime levels, you can switch to the Hedgehog, to the Werehog to upgrade him, and B, for that you can do it during stages. They do tell you in the second level. There is a stealth mechanic. This is what Chip wants you to do, but I always screw this up here. First of all, because it's a little bit clunky climbing on these things, and I haven't played this in a bit. So yeah, that's the first reason. The second thing is, how much time you have for the quick time events depends on how much health the enemies have left. So you should brawl down the enemies until they have just a sliver of their health left, and then do the quick time events. By the way, it's a little bit clunky getting on this beam, in case you haven't noticed, but at least it doesn't kill you. Then if you stealth kill an enemy, it will get a prompt behind it, and then it's at full health, however. So the quick time event is really hard, so that's why I shouldn't do it, in my opinion. What it just demonstrates is that you can't adjust the camera here. The game does this all the time, like you have to balance over a beam, which is again something from God of War, and then it doesn't allow you to set the camera behind you, so you always have to keep the stick pushed at a 20-degree angle. It's like, why? Of course it's harder, but it's not fun. Don't do that, it's stupid, okay? So as I said, I don't mind most of the Werehog, but that's dumb. There's a lot of tiny little dumb decisions that can easily kill you, and getting killed isn't fun, especially if you think like it's the game's fault. And in that case, it would be the game's fault for being stupid. Why does it restrict the camera like this? There is no reason for it. Anyway, rant over. I do generally like these climbing parts. Like, they're fun, and I've never minded them too much in God of War either. And as I said, the arm thing does do some unique stuff. Like here you can immediately have some sort of grappling hook interaction. However, it's a little bit clunky, but if you have your finger always hovering over the B button, then it's not that big of a deal, because the next grabbable ledge, and they're always very, very well indicated, as you can see from the blue glowy, will catch you. You have a lot of range to them, so do trust the game. That's a big thing to ask, I know, because this is a Sonic game, they're janky, but Unleashed is actually quite well programmed, and usually it will work in your favor. Like here, for example, I pressed a little bit too late, but just turning around in the air, then it will give you the grab. It's okay, yeah? And if you do hold the button pressed, it will automatically grab onto you, which is a huge boon. It's something I didn't really realize when I was first playing the game. I died over and over. Like, this is the first part where you will die a lot. And it's going to be frustrating until you learn the rules. By the way, I just failed a quick time event. Happens. I'm not very good at those, to be quite honest, which is bad in a game full of them, I know. And if you fail a quick time event, it's really bad. You get damaged and the enemy gets most of its health back. So try to not. So that's also a reason why I would always say do absolutely try to brawl down the enemies first and then initiate the quick time event. You don't want to risk them having it full life. So what I just picked up are power-up items. They give you temporary bonus damage, the claws, defense, the shield. They're often hidden indestructible objects and they're very, very good. I strongly recommend going around out of your way to kill a bunch of the objects that are standing around. You will get power-ups from that, and then you can get huge damage, and this means that this big boss enemy at the end deleted because I have a power-up plus unleash that deals a lot of damage, and this way this final climactic fight is already over. This can be really annoying. His shockwave attacks stun you, then you have to mash a button to get up. Didn't happen for the first time here, I don't know why, and it's really annoying. But I prevailed, so that's cool. Another thing that I'm doing here, I'm basically seeing if I can't get a few more of the quick time event kills, because if you haven't noticed, they do give a lot of points. 7,000 points, for example, if you kill one quickly enough and or at the end of its life bar. I honestly forget why it's sometimes 6,500, sometimes 7,500. But there is a reason behind it for sure, and I wanted to get a few more points to maybe push me over a threshold. Didn't work out because again it's slightly clunky, but I got enough points for an S rank, so that's great, isn't it? Like 14.5 minutes in a Sonic stage, you get an S rank, and I missed one sun medal somewhere, I don't know, in a corner. I will look it up and get it back later, I'm pretty sure. It's just the kind of guy I am. I can't deal with that. And now I upgrade combat. Combat only needs 1 level of experience to upgrade for quite a while until level 5. Now it needs 2 levels and I'm still upgrading because this is how you get moves. The game doesn't tell you what these moves are. You get a move and you're like, okay, cool, I got the double axle combo question mark, yeah? This is not great. I really don't like that because it's like, what do I do with these moves? It makes no sense. Next time I'll talk more about this. For now, a cutscene starts and immediately another level. We're not doing this. Thank you very much for your attention.